In the heart of Manhattan, nestled between towering skyscrapers, the Ashford Music Conservatory was hosting its annual Winter Gala. Inside the grand concert hall, golden lights bathed the polished Steinway piano, and the city's elite had gathered, sipping champagne and murmuring about the evening's centerpiece, a live piano demonstration by none other than Sebastian Hart. Sebastian was not just any pianist. He was a legend in classical music circles, with a reputation for flawless technique and an ego just as sharp. He basked in the admiration of his high society fans. That night, dressed in a tailored black suit, he was performing not only to impress, but to remind everyone of his superiority. Between pieces, he joked dryly, offered critiques of younger musicians, and tossed condescending remarks cloaked in charm. As he finished a complicated Beethoven sonata to a round of applause, the event host approached the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, smiling, "Sebastian has graciously agreed to take part in a piano duel. If anyone is brave enough to step forward, this is your chance to play alongside the master himself." There was laughter, a few murmurs, and mostly silence. Nobody moved. Then from the back row a woman rose. She wasn't dressed like the others, no gown, no designer heels. She wore plain jeans, a cardigan, and carried herself with calm humility. Her name was Eva. People turned to look, some chuckling, others just curious. Who was she? Sebastian squinted at her from the stage, clearly amused. "You play?" he asked, his tone half-joking. "I do," she said simply. There was a beat of silence. The host, unsure, gestured for her to come forward. As Eva walked through the elegant hall toward the stage, whispers followed her. Some spectators smirked. Others raised brows. She clearly wasn't one of them. She joined Sebastian on the bench, sitting to his left. He looked at her with a smirk and said, "Let's make it interesting. An improv duel. Classical, of course." She nodded. He went first, fingers dancing across the keys with dazzling speed, weaving in motifs from Liszt and Chopin. The crowd clapped mid-piece. Sebastian looked pleased with himself. Then Eva played. She didn't try to match his flashiness. Her hands moved with grace and purpose, drawing out a melody that was gentle, aching, and heartbreakingly human. The notes lingered in the air like snowfall. The laughter stopped. Even the host leaned forward. Sebastian's smile faded. He took another round, this time more aggressive, layering dramatic chords and complicated runs. He was trying to win now. But when Eva replied, it wasn't a competition. It was a conversation through music, filled with emotion, humility, and soul. The room shifted. What began as a game had become something else entirely, and Sebastian, for the first time in years, wasn't sure if he was in control. Sebastian's fingers hit the keys with more force, now desperate to regain control of the room. He played a storm of notes, lightning fast, his wrists flicking in sharp movements, pushing the piano to its limit. The audience watched in silence, unsure whether to be impressed or overwhelmed. When he finished, he gave a short nod to the crowd, expecting applause. A few claps echoed, but it wasn't the same as before. Eyes were no longer on him. They were waiting for her. Eva sat quietly for a moment, letting the silence settle. Then she placed her hands gently on the keys and began her next piece. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. It was soft, almost like a whisper, but with a depth that filled every inch of the hall. The melody floated like a lullaby passed down for generations. Some in the audience leaned in, as if afraid to miss a single note. She wasn't just playing music, she was telling a story. It spoke of long drives down dirt roads, of early mornings on a porch with coffee in hand, of pain carried quietly and joy that didn't need to shout. Her playing was raw and honest, and that honesty drew people in more than any technical perfection ever could. Sebastian sat beside her, still listening. For the first time in his career, he didn't feel like a competitor. He felt like a student. When the last note faded into silence, there was a moment where no one moved. Then, a thunderous standing ovation erupted. People weren't just clapping, they were shouting, whistling, even wiping tears from their eyes. Sebastian stood slowly, his face unreadable. He turned toward Ava and nodded. Not a sarcastic nod, not one meant for show, but a genuine gesture of respect. He extended his hand, and she shook it. There was no smugness left in him, just humility. As the crowd surrounded Eva, praising her, thanking her, asking who she was and where she had trained, a man in a dark suit approached from the wings. He introduced himself as a talent scout for the New York Symphony and handed her a card. "We'd like to speak with you about a solo performance. You moved this entire room." Ava smiled softly, her hands still resting on the edge of the piano. She didn't seem surprised, only grateful. As the event ended and guests spilled out into the snowy New York streets, Sebastian stayed behind, standing quietly at the edge of the stage, watching Eva pack up. In that moment he realized he hadn't lost to a simple woman. He had witnessed true brilliance, the kind that didn't need titles or tuxedos to be seen, the kind that spoke for itself, one quiet note at a time.